Wellness comprises of a healthy body, a sound mind, and a tranquil soul. Hello and welcome to Spandan with me, Andrea D'Souza, your host for this show. Yes, indeed, wellness does not only mean the absence of sickness or disease, rather, it's a holistic approach to health, physical, mental, and emotional. Today, join me and my guest as we talk about the different components of health and analyze them. My first guest for today is Dr. Meenakshi Martins, who is a practicing consultant psychiatrist for the past 30 years. Her work has also included the UNICEF, UNIFEM, GCCI, and Health Task Force Government of Goa. She is known for her contributions to performing art and has won many awards. She performed key roles in Konkani movies like Natsuya Kumpusar and O Maria. She is also a member of Goa State Commission for Women from 2003 to 2006. My next member is Cheryl Alfonso D'Souza, who has obtained her master's in food nutrition and dietetics from the University of Mumbai in 2000. After that, she joined the post of assistant professor in the subjects in Goa College of Home Science and has been working for the past 13 years. She is also associated with the Indian Red Cross and Norbert's Fitness Studio as the clinical nutritionist. She is the director of YMCA Panjim and chairperson of Women's Forum YMCA Panjim. Welcome, Cheryl.
Thank you, Andrea.
So, Meenakshi, my first question to you is that we are basically talking about a holistic approach to fitness, well-being, mind, body and soul. Do you think they are related? That is the physical wellness, emotional wellness and mental wellness?
Yeah, of course they are related. It's a part of human existence.
All right.
And what happens to one affects the other. If you are upset mentally over a long period of time, it shows on your body in terms of various allergies or skin outbursts and stuff like that. And if the stress or the mental illness prolongs, it does affect. And the soul is untouchable, but then it is surrounded by a lot of mental issues like egos,
yes,
decision making processes or comprehension and the various perspectives that you have towards life. So yes, they are very much interrelated.
Okay, so they are interrelated. Yes. And Cheryl, now we are talking about physical wellness, and right now physical fitness is in the reach. You have different things like yoga, you have kickboxing, Zumba, workouts, gymming. What would be a holistic approach?
Well, according to me, all these are forms of keeping the body physically fit. To me, being physically fit is not only having a particular body shape or weighing a certain weight. It's much more than that. If I was to go for a blood test, my readings should be clear, should be right, should be within the expected parameters. Only then does yoga, Zumba, gymming, swimming, all of that make sense.
Okay.
So that to me actually is physical fitness, and of course the mind component also. You can't be going to a gym, you can't be swimming 2 hours a day and at the end of the day say I'm fatigued, I'm tired, I can't cope with the stresses of life.
You need to
then
enjoy
there is,
it.
Yes, then there is no point to physical fitness, the way we call physical fitness.
Yes. So Meenakshi, now we have women who have many issues, especially many stress related issues. You have been practicing for the past 30 years. So can you tell me some of the main issues that you have seen in your practice?
Yeah, see, a woman is, from what we call as from womb to tomb, right from the inception, the baby is born till the lady dies. There are various kinds of emotional issues involved. So it's nothing like, you cannot generalize the mental health issues. Nowadays we are seeing younger children come with issues because I guess the menarche age, the time the menstruation begins, has gone down. Earlier generation it used to be like 13-14 years, and now the children at the age of 8 and 9 are having periods. And the issues related to that are social, they're emotional, and as much as they are physical. At the age of 8 and 9, a girl is just a baby, she's a child, and to have that kind of onus, a burden of having periods whilst going to school, whilst attending sports, whilst having exams, it's a tedious process.
It is.
So I think there is a lot of pre-menstrual symptoms involved with it, like backache, stomach pains, cramps, heavy bleeding, the emotional issues involved with the hormonal changes of that age. They have to be dealt with very delicately and in a very sensitive manner by not only the parents, and parents I mean the father and the and the mother. The fathers are usually not involved, but I believe that they should be involved. They should understand this particular aspect of their daughters, and as much as the teachers should.
Yes, yes.
Because there aren't provisions for this kind of an onslaught on a child. You know, it's a child. In the education system, like for example, a child having heavy periods on the second day is supposed to attend the
different things,
the sports and the thing in the morning, assemblies.
And she's getting used to the idea herself.
Yes, and it's very painful and it's very uncomfortable for a small child. And I think something of that has to be adjusted in the education system. And then as the child grows, there are adolescent issues, there are marriage, and as you have already dealt with the domestic adjustment issues. I will not call it violence, but there are
adjustment. There's a lot of adjustment.
A lot of adjustment which is somehow enforced only on the girl, only on the woman, which is very strange in the society. We are patriarchal society,
That's true.
So that itself is very stressful.
Yes.
And then of course the other issues of middle age, and we now say that the menopause is also coming down because the menarche is coming down. So somehow the hormones start decreasing from the age of say 25, mid-20s.
Wow, that's young.
Yeah, that's young. And so for men also, the menopause is the age has reduced.
All right.
So there are a lot of issues related to that, which I think we'll deal with as we proceed with the interview.
Yes. And Cheryl, now you are a nutritionist.
Yes.
So the normal concept about diet is, oh, I'll have to eat bland food, I'll have to starve myself. Enlighten us.
Yes, it's very sad actually that people have this notion in their head that if I was to say go on a diet, it means, oh my god, no chocolates, no sweets, no samosas, no gulab jamuns, no pizzas, no burgers.
And we are Indians, we love our food.
We love our food. Everybody loves their food, but unfortunately that's not the way food is looked at. You look at diet. What is diet? Diet is everything that you and I are eating. So you eat porridge for breakfast, that is diet. You eat a masala dosa for breakfast, that is also your diet. So what we are actually looking at is tweaking our diets to suit our body requirements. Yeah, it doesn't mean deprivation. When you are diagnosed with a problem, whether it is an adolescent issue like say PCOD or thyroid, which are weight related issues, or if it's a more adult issue like say diabetes or heart disease or blood pressure or cancers, anything requires a diet to go in tandem with what your health condition is. So it just means that if I'm used to eating probably 6 chapatis, I bring it down to eating 4 chapatis. So there's nothing, adverse or anything like bland, like you said, in a diet plan. We only need to know how to adjust our eating styles to suit what our body requires. Nobody is telling us not to eat the occasional burger and the pizza. But if you're going to eat a whole 6-piece pizza every alternate day for your lunch, that's where you're making the mistake. So
and
eat your pizza and processed foods, all of them. I mean, but today we are living in an age where everybody is working, both parents working. We are so used to advertisements, we get enraptured by them. We are tempted to go out and buy food and all these processed foods. So there's no harm in it, but we need control. Yeah, we can't be eating it on a regular basis, and that's when we do that, that's when all the problems begin.
Makes sense, of course. And okay, so Meenakshi, let's talk about menopause. Probably that's one issue that women do face, and it's not recognized and it's not really analyzed. So tell us something more about menopause.
See, menopause is a time in the life of a woman where the hormones go down.
All right.
So a lot of things happen that what I have noticed is water retention increases. You get irritable either because of the hormone lack of it or because of the water retention itself, because in some of my patients I have noticed that if I reduce the water retention, then the irritability also comes down. There are associated body dysmorphic disorders that come because you suddenly put on weight in odd places, which is very uncomfortable to adjust to.
Makes sense,
because all of us women of this modern era are used to have having one concept of your body. This is what I look
and
like.
we'll be covering that. Yes.
Yes, and then you put on weight, and then nothing works. No amount of exercise, no amount of dieting works, because it's the hormones. And so you have to learn to how to go around it. Maybe increase your certain amount of exercises, what you do, and drastically change your diet, because that's a very important part. The most important factor in menopause is the emotions.
Yes.
Because there are hot flashes, you go through extreme amount of depression, extreme amount of disturbed sleep, and irritability, anger issues, insecurities in terms of self-identity. Who am I? What's my life? And where am I going to go from here? It also comes at a time when you have a empty nest syndrome, where children have grown up and gone away, and then you have got nothing to look forward to, unless you have a career, or you have a hobby, or you have options in your life that you have developed earlier on.
And many women, like women who are homemakers, they don't have that. They have their family and they have their home, and then that emptiness syndrome is what
absolutely
happens. Yes. Now, okay, Cheryl, many women are joining the gym today and doing different types of workouts, and the main aim is to reduce weight and reduce your, your clothes.
Inches.
Yes. The inches and your clothes size. Tell us about that. Should that be the ultimate goal?
Honestly, yes. All of us want to look slimmer, and we associate slimness with beauty.
Yes.
That's universal.
Yes.
However much I stand on this platform and say, no, even if you're fat, you're beautiful, it's not going to help, because we all know that, yes, if you're a certain figure, if you're a certain shape, it's more appealing for people, and you feel good about yourself too. Yeah, so there's nothing wrong in wanting to lose weight. There's nothing wrong in wanting to drop down about a couple of inches, but do it within limits. Understand your body is what I feel. Now, if you weigh double your body weight, okay, take it a step at a time. Don't expect to drop 10 kgs in a month. It's not realistic.
It's not healthy.
It's not healthy also. You may drop the 10 kgs, but what happens after 6 months? Are you able to maintain that? That's what you're looking at. You're not looking at short-term goals. We're looking at what is your long-term goal at the end of the day. If I drop the 10 kgs, am I going to be able to maintain it for the next 10 years of my life? If I drop the 4 inches, will it be easy for me to fit into this cloth size even 5 years down the line? That is what you need to be looking at, irrespective of what age you come from. Whether you're a 10-year-old who's joining the gym, or you're a 40-year-old lady who's joining the gym, understand these parameters.
But can you probably be 5 kgs or even 10 kgs above your weight limit and still be healthy?
You could. You could. It's again a misconception that if I'm slim, I'm healthy. No. There are quite a few people who may be very thin and very attractive to look at, but you go and tell them to do certain exercises, they can't. There's no strength in their body. Yeah. You tell them, they wouldn't pass a blood test probably for glucose levels or for cholesterol levels, so there are certain things that are not really certain medical issues that could be related to your weight, but it's not necessary that because I'm thin, I'm healthy. That's a major misconception.
Makes sense. Do join us on the other side of the break. Thank you.
साथ में झूमे नाचे गाए हम साथ में क्या है डर क्या फिक्र जब रियल रेनकोट हो साथ में रियल रेनकोट्स हर परिवार की पहली पसंद स्टाइलिश, कलरफुल और आकर्षक डिजाइन वाले रेनकोट्स, रेन सूट्स, विंड शीटर्स, स्कूटर कोट्स और जैकेट्स एक्सक्लूसिव वैरायटीज के साथ रियल रेनकोट्स अवेलेबल एट ऑल लीडिंग स्टोर्स। रियल, चलता ही जाए मौसम मौसम।
ही म्हजी धूव, म्हजो मोग, म्हजी आपुरबाय. सालकार ज्युवेलर्साचें भांगार वाडयता तिची सोबीतकाय.
भांगर आणि रुपें सजयता तुमचें रूप. भांगर आणि रुप्याच्या वस्ती खातीर येयात. साळकर ज्वेलर्स.
साळकर ज्वेलर्स, शॉप नंबर 1, कदंब बस स्टँड, पणजी, गोवा.
Welcome back. Perfect health is well-being of mind, body and soul. So Meenakshi, as we were talking, can you tell us some health issues that would then lead to mental illnesses?
Yeah, one of the main things that I would like to cover, and I mean I won't go into the details of the larger like liver failures or kidney failures or something like that. But the most common thing that I have noticed amongst the rural and even the urban population in Goa is anemia. So when the blood level, the hemoglobin level comes down under 10, and the stress of the school life or the domestic life is too much, a lady cannot cope with it. So anemia is one of the things that we have to focus on, and the second thing is calcium deficiency. So we have osteopenia, we have osteoporosis, so you have back pains, you have leg pains, you have cramps in your calf muscles, and anemia gives things like inability to concentrate, disturbed sleep, palpitations, chest pains, and general debility, weakness, tiredness, exhaustion. And when you do generally check students, girls, who have especially have started their periods, you realize that their hemoglobin is hovering somewhere around 9 or 8 or
which is not good.
Which is not good. So I believe that I have been on the family welfare committees of the health services of Goa, and we had made sure that children and women are supplied with sufficient amount of iron supplements, especially during this formative age of girls, also during pregnancy and during adolescence. And so they have been doing that. They have been supplying iron tablets in generally. Calcium, of course, is not given by the generally not given, but in specific areas the government does give in their primary health centers. But women on their own also, should make sure that their diet is, and ma'am can speak on that issue. And so you can advise better.
Yes,
I
actually
guess.
I would just like to go one step ahead to what Dr. Martin said and say, anemia, that is a deficiency of hemoglobin, a deficiency of iron in the body, is such a simple problem, but it goes undiagnosed.
Okay.
All you need is a simple blood test to find out what is your hemoglobin level, and you carry on with the preventive or the other measures to do it. But we don't do that, and we don't realize the importance of it, especially like you said in our girls when they start their menstrual cycle. And diet, very important, yes. There is only a certain bit that medication can do, but a diet where you incorporate it into everyday living, where you're eating, you're stressing. Goa has a lot of leafy vegetables. We grow it local leafy vegetables, especially we're going to start the monsoons now, and it's the season of leafy vegetables. But how many of us actually go to the market and buy those which are extremely cheap? Vegetables. So that's one way of increasing your iron levels, including leafy vegetables in your diet, making sure that there is a vitamin C supplement along with the iron, because it makes no sense to keep having iron in your diet if it's not going to be absorbed by your body. And for the absorption of iron, vitamin C, vitamin C is extremely important. Goa can afford, people in Goa, families in Goa can afford the non-vegetarian sources of iron, like your liver, your egg yolks and your chicken and your meats, etc. But these are the foods, like I said, the leafy vegetables. You also have jaggery as a substitute instead of using sugar. Jaggery has a small amount of iron in it. So again, that's another thing that families can use. Ragi, which is not used by families today.
Earlier they used to.
Everybody, ragi was the traditional crop out here, but nobody is doing it. Ragi has an extremely high iron content. It's extremely good in calcium also.
Both.
So these are things that our family should go back to doing, incorporate all these traditional foodstuffs in their diet. And another thing that I have also recognized and realized in people coming to the gym, especially the ladies, the vitamin D status, very, very low vitamin D status. Related, of course, to the calcium deficiency that is prevalent among our population. It may be something that is inherent, genetically inherent in our population, but I would think this new style of covering your body, not exposing yourself to the sun, wanting to ride with each and every part of your body covered, you know, that is making our population deficient in
I was under the
vitamin
misconception that say afternoon, 12, noon. Isn't that too harsh for the skin? And do you still get vitamin D?
Because of the depletion of our ozone layer and all, yes, okay, those rays are extremely harsh. Yeah, but what's stopping you when you go to work at 8, drive to work at 8 or 9 in the morning, you're still covered.
Yes.
That doesn't make sense.
Those are the crucial hours.
Yes,
8,
yeah.
9, of course.
And then we're putting sunscreen all over our body. It's just preventing the
we have just
absorption.
shifted from being outdoor goans to being, you know, extremely secluded and I think obsessed about not getting dark. It's not about you know, not getting enough sunshine. I think nobody knows about it.
It's the color.
It's about the skin color.
And that's something again, women all over India, because the Indian notion is
white is beautiful.
white is beautiful.
Yeah.
Which is not true.
I'm
You know,
happily
it's not
dark.
true.
I'm very happily dark.
No, and it's not true because it's, I mean, beauty lies within. That's a fact. And then secondly, it's also your features. But then that's a conception in India. So, you know.
You really can't help it.
Yeah.
You know.
Probably in future, coming years, we can
Yeah, but you
change
have
it.
to, you have to think about the future, right? We are doing an episode on health and wellness out there, so people
this
have to
is
look at it from
important.
that aspect. Yeah.
Of course.
You know, just coming back to the diet, what she mentioned, you know, I usually advise people to grow Vauchi bhaji at home.
Yes.
You know, so it has got iron and vitamin C. So it's a very important combo. And goans in the olden times, we used to have it in our soups in the evening.
Yes.
You know, so which was like quite a, you know, enough quantity of all sorts of things.
Yes.
But today we don't have gardens, you know, we don't have vegetable gardens.
And those vegetable gardens were beautiful. I
No, and today if you would advise them to have the soup, they would go out and buy a packet soup and have it.
Yes.
Yeah, but
They don't want to make their soups.
no, but you know, that's another very important thing, because I've always maintained that cooking at home is very, very important, no matter how much you are stressed for time. Okay, in emergency cases where you are like not there at all, then that's a different story. But making a habit of using, you know, purchasing ready-made foods with you know, preservatives and all sorts of things, and you don't even know what it is. It's very unhealthy, especially for the children who are growing up. You know, because I believe that whatever your health is actually formed in your teens and prior to that, you know, and
Formative years,
formative
of
years,
course.
and that's what takes you through your life. You know, that's what you are, because your bones structure develops during that time. So what you eat is what you become.
Of course.
You know, so
And now when it comes to stress, okay, now many women, they do have stress related issues. How do you identify stress and probably depression also, before it really becomes strong?
yeah, so first and foremost, you know, in any given situation, if you are uncomfortable in that situation, whether it is at school, whether it is at workplace, whether it is at home or in society, bus stops, buses, wherever you know, if you feel constantly uncomfortable, after a certain amount of time, that discomfort is going to give rise to stress. And when chronic stress fits into your life, then it starts exhibiting physical and emotional symptoms. The very first emotional symptoms, I think, is distress, discomfort, irritability, anger, agitation, wanting to have, you know, like a drastic reaction to that, but you're keeping it in you, suppressing it, because, you know, it's either socially not acceptable, or in the family it will not be acceptable if someone is like bothering you too much at home, and you keep quiet because it is Sanskriti and it is culture and it is this and that, and then over a period of time you have developed, you know, many symptoms like breathlessness, palpitations, chest pains. If you proceed a little further and the stress has been a little extra, then you have lots of skin disorders. You have urticarias, you have psoriasis, you have rashes. Something that in India we used to call as pittis, because you are suppressing your anger so much that your acidity in the body has increased and you burst out in rashes in various parts. And one of the things that I've noticed is keep a watch on how much hair you're losing in the bathroom.
All right.
You know, so if the stress has become a little extra and then you have hair fall, dryness of skin, it becomes scabby, you have disturbed sleep then. And thereafter, then these are only the symptoms of stress, you know. And when the stress becomes too much, then you have something called as a meltdown or a breakdown.
Yes.
And then you have all sorts of symptoms of anxiety, you have symptoms of panic attacks, you know, and then you have, if the thing is too much, like ragging for instance, in colleges, gives rise to neurosis, it gives rise to psychosis, people get schizophrenia, people have manic depressive symptoms, you know, out of just one incident, say of rape, molestation, ragging. We have had such things in Goa from our vicinity colleges and schools, you know, and which everybody says, it is nothing, you know, why are you like getting so agitated? But it depends from personality to
because
personality.
the way they take it, the way they perceive it.
Yeah.
Individual.
Yes, and it also depends on your basic core personality, your core value of your self-worth, and how, you know, the situation happens and how you react to it. It's a two-way system. So similarly, you have situations in school, and then you have situations at home, you have situations at workplace, and in the society. So stress is not unilateral, it can come from various sources.
All right.
And then your reactions are similar, you know.
Yes.
So when you, what I feel is that when you have initial symptoms of stress and you have a situation, you can't cope with the situation, then you have to start taking care of yourself. You have to start taking care of yourself in the sense, you either walk out of the situation, you deal with the situation, or you deal with your symptoms.
Because ultimately we are responsible to ourselves.
Yeah,
So
or you have a three-pronged approach, that you deal with the situation and the symptoms and yourself, you know. So it
That's
can
when
happen.
you would require help. I
You
feel.
require help, and people don't go. They wait till they get hypertension, they wait till they get diabetes, but they won't accept the fact that it is stress related and that it is like because of this particular thing. They will go and get treatment for diabetes, they'll go and get treatment for hypertension.
India doesn't, I mean, Goa probably, I mean, this is what I feel, you can correct me, doesn't have this culture wherein, okay, they would go and ask for mental or emotional help. They would rather go to a doctor and see the physical symptoms, wait for the physical symptoms to...
Mental health is still not openly spoken about, I would think.
Exactly.
It's a stigma that if
No,
there
but
is
you
a
know,
mental problem,
even the doctors don't do it. You know, like suppose I am a general physician and you come to me for hypertension, I will not
he will
ask
not
you.
refer you.
No, I will not even ask you, are you going through stress?
Correct. Yeah.
Like we train the medical officers, you know, to ask, are you depressed? Did you feel like committing suicide in the last 3-4 days? We don't ask such questions. You know, we should train ourselves to ask these questions, not only doctors, but everybody,
Because
you know.
it starts with the mind.
Yeah.
You know?
Even at workplace. So suppose a person is looking off, then we should ask, are you having any problem? It's none of my business, but like friends should make it their business, you know.
It would be nosy also, yeah.
Yeah. So in case there is, even sometimes I feel that, you know, discussing your problems or sharing them reduces the stress a lot, you know. And then if you can't cope with it, like constant domestic hassles, you know, do give a huge amount of stress on the women, and they cannot discuss this outside. So sharing amongst friends, I think, you know, that would
It is
really help.
important.
Yeah,
It
before
helps you
going.
when you can, you know,
Yeah.
bring.
Vent
And
out,
Cheryl, our last question. Tell us 5 myths about, or 5 misconceptions that women have about working out.
Okay, very, very quickly.
Yes, very, very quickly.
The first thing I would think, women are scared to lift weight.
Okay,
Yeah, because
yes.
they think that they will develop bulk like Arnold Schwarzenegger has. Will not happen in the gym because women do not have testosterone.
So sure,
So
for a fact.
for a fact, I guarantee you that. Okay, that's one thing that women are scared about. What else do women fear in the gym? When they want to spot reduce.
Yes.
Yeah, they think they come to the gym and they say, I've got only fat out here and I've got fat out here, so just help me to lose fat out there. It doesn't work that way.
Oh, yeah.
Whether you go to the gym, whether you take up any other physical activity, you cannot spot reduce. You have to look at overall body weight loss. Yeah? They don't realize that what they eat is as important as the activity that you do. You can't say that I am doing so and so activity for so many hours a day and therefore I can eat whatever I want to do.
Yes, that's something
Whatever I
common,
want to do.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's again not going to happen. they have the misconception, like we started off the program saying that this needs to be definitely out of my diet for me to be healthy and lose weight. No, you can eat all the foods that are cooked at home, with a little bit of changes here and there in the amount of salt, in the amount of sugar, and in the amount of oil that you use in your cooking. So I think these are some of the points that most women fear when
And
they
they'll
come
have
to the
to
gym.
note it. Yes.
Definitely.
Today we have learned that the mind, body and soul are connected. The way you think shows in your behavior, it shows in your actions. So rather than going to the doctors, rather than worrying about your physical health, start with your mental health. Be happy, have a good attitude, see the goodness in life, and probably that's how you can keep yourself mentally, emotionally strong, and that will show in your physical well-being itself.
Learn
Thank
to
you.
respect and love yourself.
Learn to respect
Yeah.
and love yourself, of course. And thank you so much. Thank you so much, Cheryl. Thank you so
you.
much, Meenakshi.
Welcome.
And thank you, viewers. See you next season.